Hey there, everyone. How you doing today? So, as my book One Rental at a Time continues to take off, and it's really taking off on Amazon these days, YouTube channels now over 5,000 folks, podcasts, all these things are really starting to grow. I'm getting seemingly some days dozens of requests to have coffee, right? Have coffee, come eat with me, mentor me, you know, help. And I just can't say yes to everything. So I decided to do is create another playlist on this channel called Coffee Talk with a Mentor. Uh, I've done enough of these now, and again, get seemingly dozens of requests a day that I'm going to start categorizing these coffee talks. And hopefully, over the next couple of weeks, I will have created 5 or 6 of these. And they will really just try to be conversations I would have with you over a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Hopefully 15, 20 minutes. Um, Again, I'm trying to do the best I can to create content that can be consumed by new investors. So let me bring up the first one. I just created it this morning. I'll try to create a second one this afternoon. But this is something I have to do because I'm getting so many requests, and I just can't say yes to everyone. So let me share this, and we will have our first conversation, our first coffee talk. So the first conversation I needed to have is the one I get most frequently, right? It's from someone who read our book. Maybe they followed me on YouTube. Maybe they listened to my podcast, One Rental at a Time. But it's, hey, I like what you're doing. I like your story. I or my family or whatever are just like you. We're just starting. Can you give me 30 minutes? Right? This is someone who probably doesn't have a rental. Maybe they have one. Maybe it was a house they lived in and then they moved out, or maybe they house hacked. But basically, they're new or they're nervous. They basically um, they feel like if they get 30 minutes of my time, they will just be better served. So that's the first coffee talk I want to have. Again, I've tried to outline how these conversations usually go, and hopefully this makes sense to you if this is something that you'd like to think about. The first thing I have to ask is, if you really want to understand my opinions, my experience, you need to understand our story, right? Our story is one of working a full-time job, buying one rental at a time, starting before the crash, surviving the crash, prospering after the crash. But you have to know our story, because when you ask me questions, you have to know what lens I'm answering them through, right? If you want to talk to somebody who built a business flipping homes, that's not one rental at a time, right? I conservatively financed 1031, bought multifamily. That's what we did. If you want to talk to someone who retired using Burr, that's not who I am, right? We didn't do that. We bought conservatively financed rental properties. So please understand what our story is. I certainly have experience in lots of areas, but when you want to talk to me, you should at least get this book, read this. It'll take you 3 hours. Of course, leave me a 5-star review on Amazon, help a brother out, right? Self-published author, needs all the help I can get. But you got to know where I'm coming from. Okay, that's enough on that. So the first thing we talk about when we're often with new investors is they're often vibrating, right? They're so excited. They just read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Maybe they read our book. Maybe they saw something on social media. And sometimes they're literally vibrating with excitement. When I'm sitting there, excitement can be good. It could be bad. It could be fleeting. It's sometimes a yellow flag for me, right? Because um, I've seen many, many, many people ask for 30 minutes of my time, get it, and then do nothing. And what I have seen is most people who do that come in with the most excitement. And what they quickly realize when they do what I tell them to do is it's hard. It takes time. And they just go on to something else. They go on to Bitcoin or pot stocks or tech stocks or whatever. And it's I help them save themselves something, so that feels good. But it really is a waste of my time, right? I'm not there uh, to help with Bitcoin or pot stocks or whatever else is hot these days. It's it's those days don't feel good. When I commit a 30 minutes to someone and they come in all excited and they do nothing, that honestly feels wasteful. But I help them. Maybe they realize this is not for them, and maybe I should feel good about that. But I have left many a coffees going, wow, that was a complete waste of time. The other thing, again, I'm trying to be cautious, right? Let's assume this person sitting across from me is not the first category, right? They are in. What I need to communicate to them is speed is not their friend. I do not want to see new investors buy something in the first 30 days. That's not who I am. I don't believe you walk up to the roulette wheel and you pick a number and then cross your fingers. I believe if you do the homework that I outline, that I talk about, that I help my students with, you should at least skew the odds in your favor by doing good or great deals. But you can't do that quickly. It has taken me years, if not decades, to get good at what I do and perfect my craft. To think that you could do that in a weekend is insulting to me and others who have been looking at the market. So realize you're signing up for something that's going to take you 30, 45, 60 days, right? So I don't want that coffee talk person to think that they're going to write an offer tomorrow. That's not what I want them to think. I really want to communicate. I want to make them understand that if they're going to follow me and do what I talk about, just like I tell my students in the classes, you got to get ready to do something consistently for 30, 60, 90 days. You need to look in your market. You need to understand. You need to track. It needs to feel monotonous. It needs to feel boring. And just by the time you think it's boring and repetitive, you'll start to see something. You'll start to understand what is maybe a bad or average, good or great deal. It just takes time. It's not hard. It just takes consistent effort and learning and documenting and asking questions and growing your network. And it just takes time. And that's why most people don't do it. That's why that first slide I had, when I talk about this part of my story and what I recommend, they give me lip service. Oh yeah, I can do that. Oh yeah, I can do it. You can see their vibration calming down. It's like, God, this is like work. Why do I want to do this? This is hard. Being successful in anything is not easy. This is not a get rich quick thing, right? Our story is 15 years in duration through the ups and downs of real estate. Get ready to do the work. And again, I'm trying to help you understand how you skew the benefits in your favor. If you realize that 99% of the stuff out there is junk, you've got to get good, and it takes time to find the 1%. Another thing I ask people to do in the beginning to test their willingness is, I want you to take a goal of meeting one new person a week in whatever market you choose. I don't tell people what market to use. If you want to go out of state, go out of state. I'm not the person that's hey, market timing, look at these statistics. I don't have time to do that. I don't know any market other than one, so it'd be disingenuous. So pick the market that you want to do, learn this skill. You can reuse the skill over and over in new markets, but do yourself a favor. Besides doing the homework that I outlined in my course, put it upon yourself to meet one new person a week. It could be an investor, an agent, another buyer. I mean, it could be whoever. It can be an email, phone calls, in person, meetups. Just realize your network is your net worth. It's not only the people that you know, but the people that know you. This is a people business. As I talk about in the book, this is a people business. The other thing you have to do before you write an offer is you need to be able to compare deals. I talk about bad, average, good, and great all the time. What I don't say in that sentence is it all comes down to comparing deals. A great deal has a higher yield than an average deal. A good deal has a higher average than a bad deal. If you can't compare deals and know what the average yield is or cash on cash return, what are we doing, right? Got to be able to do the work, understand the math. The other thing I try to figure out is, Usually when people find me, something about real estate has got them excited. It could be multifamily. I own 1,000 apartments, right? Grant Cardone's my friend. It could be Burr. Oh, I love the idea of building a portfolio of rentals with recycling capital. Ooh, I want to use hard money or private money to build my portfolio and have none of my own money in the deal. Burr is awesome. Maybe it's out of state cheap houses. Maybe you live in the Silicon Valley or New York or LA and you can't buy a rental, but you see 40K houses in Cleveland. Oh, I'm in. It's less than the cost of my car, right? I'm trying to figure out what's got you excited, because that will help me understand what your motivation is, how fleeting it might be, how much risk you're willing to take. I just want to understand what lens you're coming to this coffee conversation with. The other thing I want to try to figure out is what your goals, right? You probably came to this coffee with me thinking you have goals. Maybe it's, I want to own 1,000 units. Maybe it's, I want to be financially free in a year. Maybe it's, I want to have $3,000 in cash flow by 2025. I don't know what it is, but you probably have some goal. So I want to understand what that is. And again, for me, I translate the answer to that is, how realistic are you? Have you bought into some social media hype? Because I think real estate investing, while it absolutely can lead to financial freedom, it's hard. Risks happen, bad stuff happens, and not enough people talk about them. So I want to understand what your goals are and what the timeline for your goals are. I believe new investors must answer or be able to answer only one question before they write their first offer. And that is, what is a bad, average, good, or great deal in whatever market they choose? I use cash on cash, but if you don't like that, use whatever metric you want. But can you tell someone in a 3-minute, 4-minute conversation why house 123 on Main Street is better than 456 Main Street? Why? Why is it? You should be able to do that. Otherwise, you're gambling, and you shouldn't be gambling with your financial future. Something I always do in these coffee talks with new investors is I make sure they understand the bad stuff. People are going to lie to you. People are going to steal your money. Stuff is going to break. Tenants are going to break stuff. Tenants are going to leave. Mother Nature is going to break stuff. Trees are going to break. Sewer lines are going to break. Water heaters are going to go out. Floods will happen. Fires happen. Death happens. When you own real estate long enough, you'll experience all of the above. Does it scare you? Maybe. We better talk about it, because owning stocks, maybe doesn't have the same kind of long list of bad stuff. So I want to make sure you understand that being a buy and hold landlord, like we talked about, at one rental at a time, is a people business. And unfortunately, sometimes people disappoint you. It also is, it's a physical structure that deteriorates over time and is at the whims of Mother Nature. Does that freak you out? Right? Let's talk about the bad stuff. The other thing that I try to figure out is what market you're looking at, and then I make sure you're doing your homework. How'd your market perform in 2000? How did it perform in 2010? How's it performing today? How do you know? If you're not looking at the history of your market, you're doing yourself a disservice. We know just in the last 2 decades, we have seen an unaffordable market with bad lending practices destroy many cities. How did yours fare? What happened? Was it not affected? Is it affected? Why? Why not? You should know these things. If you're going to step into a rental property and invest for the next couple of decades, you should at least look at the last couple of decades. Do yourself that favor. I believe the most successful new investors, right? If you're sitting across the table with me, I'm hoping you're cautious, but optimistic. But caution is what I want. I don't like the high vibration excitement. Oh, I got to go now, got to go now. That scares the hell out of me. What I hope you're looking for from this 30-minute conversation is, how do I build confidence? If you're cautious and you come to me looking to build confidence, I got you. I know how to do that. You get my course, you do what I say in the homework, you look at your market every day for 90 days, you know how to compare deals, And by the end of that, you can tell anybody who asks what a good or great deal is. That is the magic. That is what I want for you. Don't walk up to the roulette wheel, pick number 17, and wait to see what happens, right? I want you to understand this takes work. I want you to understand there's a bad side to this business and stuff breaks and people disappoint you. But if you're cautious, you conservatively finance, you do the work, there's nothing like this business. You can definitely change your financial future. I also want people to understand, if the conversation is going the right way, I want their goal to be to get to 4 conservatively financed single family homes, because it can change your whole life. Once you get to 4, we can talk again. Then we can talk about getting to 10. And when you get to 10, we can talk about what's next. But let's talk about 4. Let's talk about 1 every 6 months, 1 every year, 1 every 2 years, depending on your capital. That's what I want. Cautious, let's build confidence, and let's set a realistic goal of 4 rental properties. In the end, this has hopefully been a great coffee talk. Hopefully we've outlined, if you're cautious, you understand what's going on. The best way to build confidence is do the work that I outline. There's a link in the description below to the course. Check it out, look at the outline. But again, even if you don't take it, what you should take from this coffee talk is, let's actually stop sharing. What hopefully you've taken from this coffee talk is, if you're excited about getting started and don't know what to do, understand bad things happen, cautious, do your homework, invest the time. If you can answer the question, what is bad, average, good, and great, you're on your roads to success. So hopefully that makes sense. I will do additional coffee talks as time permits, but hopefully you've enjoyed this one. Have fun.